All right, how do we want to start?
Hi, everyone. This is Hudson Santana here from Santana Team. I have Emily with me. We're excited to share some news and facts and what's going on in the market here in around Cambridge, Somerville, Arlington, and Medford.
All right, we'll just jump right into some market data. There was one main data point that I wanted to highlight to everyone right now. If we compare the number of active listings on the market today to the same day last year, we're looking at a 27% increase in active listings.
I believe, it's a really good thing. It's not a really good thing for every single person, but it's a really good thing in a sense of this creates one more options for buyers, which options in our area are always very limited. So that's a positive thing. Another positive thing is that it increases the quality, in my opinion. It forces sellers to improve their listings, right? To put a little more time and effort on making improvements and changes and taking care of the appearance and making repairs, all kinds of things. And also forces developers to increase the quality, right? Like they can't just put anything on the market and expect it
Yeah.
to sell. Once you have more competition, it just forces you to put a little more time and effort into the properties that are selling.
For me, the big question, I think for most people, would be like, why? Like, why are there more homes now?
Yeah, one of the main factors outside of the economy, particularly in our area, is the recent zoning changes in Cambridge and Somerville. For this year, the biggest influence is the Somerville zoning changes that happened about year and a half, 2 years ago, and we are already seeing these properties hitting the market. The biggest one being the backyard cottages. We actually were involved in a lot of them, and we've been able to sell already some of the first ones in Somerville. And the feedback from buyers has been fantastic. People really like that. It's basically allowing young couples to stay in the city of Somerville instead of having to move out to the suburbs, because you basically now have this ability to buy a small single family home within less than 1.5 million, which again, for some people might be a lot of money, but in reality, in Somerville, it's an attractive price.
Yeah. I think also too, we're starting to see some of those 2020 buyers turn into sellers because
Yeah.
of life changes or things like that. And although they have this amazing rate that they don't want to let go of, they still need to move and they still need to, upsize or all these kinds of things. And so now we're starting to see some of those hit the market.
Yeah, it's a lot of people that were trying their best to hold on to their rates, and once enough time goes by, you realize you just have to make a move.
So, in terms of this time of year, like, it's August and we are coming to the end of summer. What are things that specifically this year you want buyers and sellers to be thinking about, but also just in general, should they be thinking about in August?
Yeah. Well, right now, what we're seeing is, and we see it pretty much every year, particularly now with within the last couple of years that we have higher rates. Before, when rates were around 3%, our market was not very seasonal because it just made sense for you to buy because money was pretty cheap, right? Almost free. So you could literally buy a property any time of the year and made a lot of sense. Now with rates being closer to 7%, you really have to think about, should I rent, should I buy? And it's really turning our market to a very seasonal market. So with buyers, what we're seeing is a lot of people that, because we're at around end of July, August, if you haven't found a place, you're usually renewing your lease and staying put, right? So we are seeing a lot of buyers exiting the market because of that. The ones that are staying on the market, it's, in my opinion, it's always one of the best times of the year to buy because you are able to get a much better deal, because the listings that haven't sold, they kind of become a little bit stagnant, and it puts you in a better position to negotiate with a seller because you're not competing with a lot of buyers.
Yeah, I mean that's like a double win. There's more inventory this year and there's going to be less competition in terms of other buyers. So That's a
Yeah.
great opportunity if you are looking for something to like stay the course
Yeah.
and not give up too soon. Because I think a lot of people around this time of year just get tired. They've been looking through the spring, they've been looking through the summer, and then they're like, I'll just wait till next year. But if they actually continue, they can really make the most of it.
Yeah, and then for sellers, if you're going on the market right now, it's really the time to. It's always the time to price it right. Right. The idea of a listing price is for you to position your product. Right. You want to position your house in the best place possible to attract as many buyers as possible. So in this time of the year, most listings are just stagnant. They're sitting on the market. So if you're coming on the market right now and if you have the ability to price it right, you're going to get a lot of attention and you're going to be basically positioned to sell, right? In the other hand, we also see a lot of sellers deciding to take a pause, take their houses off the market and start considering relisting around October in order to find that buyer that needs to move in by January 1st.
So what if I am one of those sellers whose house has been on the market for a little while, let's say a month, 2 months, however much amount of time my property isn't selling? What would be your advice to me?
Of course, it really depends on the specific situation. The advice is always you gotta be the best product on the market, right?
Mm.
So price always a factor. Another thing is condition, right? So maybe if you are a little stagnant, that this might be the time to take it off the market and make the adjustments and really work on the feedback that you receive from buyers, right? In order to take care of those adjustments and then relist. Or to realize that like you've tried that price that you really wanted and this is the time to come down to reality and understand that that's not what the buyers want and if you really need to be in your next place you can't wait any longer. You really have to make that adjustment and become the best product on the market and you will sell.
Unless you can and you're willing to wait, reset days on market, relist in October or next spring or something like that.
I mean, but we always take a look at the specific property and the specific situation of the seller, and we have so many tools to work around them.
So we wanted to talk today about Cambridge zoning changes. That was the kind of topic we wanted to discuss. And this is a big thing for you because I know your heart is in development and, adding housing units is something that is very exciting for you. So I guess what's the deal? What's going on? What has Cambridge done and why have they done it?
Yeah, this is a very controversial topic. I'm going to share my opinion. A lot of people are going to disagree. And by the way, if you disagree, let us know. I'd love to hear your opinion. A big conversation that we always have is affordability. It's on the news every day. Well, in most markets, what makes things affordable is quantity, right? So if we have a lack of housing, the price of the housing stock is going to go up. So the best way to solve it is not to create more conditions and make building houses more difficult. The best way to solve it is to allow for more housing to be built, and that's what keeps prices affordable. So what Cambridge has done, which I think it's very bold and impressive, and I'm really excited about it, is they basically eliminated single family zoning. What does that mean?
Like they said, you're not allowed to have a single family.
Yeah, no, you absolutely are allowed. You are encouraged to have a single family. However, you are now also allowed to turn your single family into multiple units.
Okay.
And that's the part that's exciting is that you can still build your single family, but now you could turn a single family into a 9 unit, a 10 unit, a 20 unit. It really is going to depend on your lot size. But the general thing for people to know is that you now have a limit of 4 stories on any lot and as many units as you can fit within the setbacks. One big thing for most people to know is that once you have up to 9 units, all these units can be sold at market price. Once you pass the 9 unit number, you have to add an affordable component, which means that unit number 10 has to be an affordable unit. And then the city gets to decide how to price it. I mean, you and the city, but the city has a lot of kind of regulations around it, which makes it a little complex for you to figure out what that unit could be sold and what the restrictions are for the sale of that.
Do you have to work closely with the city to, yeah, figure out how to sell that unit?
Exactly. So what ends up happening is that developers and homeowners in general will stay within that number. But and then we're gonna have a lot of pushback, and people are gonna say, "Wow, they're avoiding affordable housing." No, the reality is going from 1 unit to 9. It's a huge increase,
Mm.
right? So it's a really positive thing, and that's what's going to increase inventory, which gives buyers more options, which increases quality of housing, but also keeps prices down.
Mm.
Because now we're going to be competing when you're trying to sell, you're going to compete with a lot of properties that are similar to yours. Therefore, you're not able to price it whatever you want.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The example I like to use is I'm a big fan of Barcelona. I'm a big fan of Paris. And if you go to those places, you see that it's all around 4 stories, and people end up having to shop local because yeah, it's a lot more dense, but then you have a lot more small little stores and grocery stores and right, like coffee shops and stuff like that. And you end up staying in your little neighborhood instead of driving to a Walmart.
Which Cambridge already leans closer to that with the squares, and it's got great public transportation with the buses and the trains and everything, and so it already leans more toward a European model, except for there are certain parts of Cambridge that are majority single families that have not been able to you've not been able to add condos to.
Yeah. And again, as I mentioned, it's very controversial.
Yeah.
People might not agree with me. I particularly think it's as a positive thing because I do believe it allows people to stay within the city. It allows younger families to live in the city because the prices are lower. And again, we are already seeing a lot of those projects getting approved. Then one other positive thing is something that so I'm a homeowner, I'll be really thinking about is what is my property worth, right? Because if I own a single family home and now this single family could be turned to 9 units, how do I even figure out how to price it,
Mm.
right? And that's where you should call somebody like us or me, and we can help you kind of figure that out and walk you through it. But in general, I'm getting a lot of calls from homeowners. We've been doing a lot of price analysis. We're doing a lot of zoning analysis to help homeowners figure out what's the best path forward. And even me, some of the properties I own in Cambridge, I'm converting them into larger buildings and stuff like
Well, because your buyer pool has completely changed, right? Because
that.
before it was just whoever wants another single family in Cambridge, which is honestly a smaller subset of people who can just, first of all, afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But second of all, that's what they want too.
Mhm.
To live in a single family in Cambridge is a very unique niche.
Yeah.
But now you're opening it up to a lot of builders who have
Mm-hmm.
interest in this property. And so your home is now not the value of the actual house itself. It's the lot. It's the what it could be.
And again, it's a very complex conversation, and it's something you really want a professional to kind of walk through with you.
I know
So,
you've been reading on a lot of these things. So and you've been mentioning that it's controversial. I know what you think. What are the people on the other side saying, or what's the negative
yeah,
against?
yeah, yeah. And again, that's why I'm very fair to say, like, I have an opinion. I am entitled to my opinion. That's the beauty of this country, right? Like, it's a free country. I can have an opinion and
Mhm.
I can voice it. Doesn't mean that I'm right. You can disagree with me. What we see on the other side is people that they love where they live. They love their little street with a lot of single families, and they know the neighbors, and they're really concerned about all of a sudden having a 9-unit building being built next door or a 20-unit building being built next door. And that is a valid concern, right? And that's where when I mentioned that it is controversial, is that not everybody is very pleased with this
Yeah.
change. But again, I believe it's a necessary change. It's a very bold change. In my opinion, it's very positive. But I can also understand why a lot of people don't like it and don't want to see it.
But if you do think about like those quintessential like Cambridge single family neighborhoods, a lot of those are already historic homes. So if you were to convert them, you would have to work within what's already existing to convert them. You wouldn't be able to like tear it down for a lot of them, not all, I'm sure.
That's a very good point. It's both. I'll give you an example. East Cambridge, it's a historical neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you live in East Cambridge, there's already, regardless of the house, the neighborhood is historical. So they have these specific contingencies. I'm actually doing a project there. I can tell you that just because it's in the area now, in order for us to do anything, we have to go in front of the historical department and we have to have a public hearing, and they're going to have a lot of input. And their goal is to preserve that historic feel. Okay.
Yeah.
And that area in general is going to be a lot more restrictive than some other parts of Cambridge. The goal of the city is to preserve their character. So they are encouraging, from what I've seen so far, they are encouraging developers to maintain a portion of the existing structure to maintain that character. Okay, but we're also seeing some, I've seen a couple like bungalows or some properties that really don't have any character, that they're being okay allowing people to demolish them and building a brand new building. You have to weigh kind of the plus and minuses, because at the end of the day, you also want quality housing, you want quality construction, right? And that's a big factor. I would love for people to comment on this or call us, and we can dig deeper. One other thing, and we kind of mentioned Somerville. You guys are going to be driving around and you're going to see a lot of the backyard cottages. I just would like to mention there's been a lot of confusion in regards to what is a backyard cottage, because a lot of people are referring to them as ADUs. An ADU is very different than a backyard cottage, because an ADU is a Massachusetts state law that says that you can now build an accessory dwelling unit within your lot. And then the purpose of that is for you to generate some additional rental income that also alleviates the rental prices for the local rental market.
Adding affordable housing.
Create more affordability, which is a very positive thing in my opinion again. However, it's called an accessory dwelling unit, which means it's part of that house or part of a unit in that multiple unit.
So like a multifamily with an ADU in the back, or a single family with an ADU in the back, it's all one ownership.
Exactly. So you cannot sell that ADU separately from anything. So as an example, let's assume there's a triple decker. And so you have unit 1, 2, and 3. And that triple decker is divided into condominiums. So now that unit 1 could be sold and unit 2 could be sold to a different buyer, unit 3 could be sold to a different buyer. If you build an ADU, that ADU has to be attached legally, not physically, to one of these units. So now all of a sudden the ADU is part of unit 1.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not necessarily the fourth unit that could be sold separately.
Okay.
Where the backyard cottages in Somerville are part of the new Somerville zoning, which means they're just a different type of structure that you can build within.
And that would be like that fourth unit that you can actually.
Yeah,
that's only in Somerville.
Unit.
That's only Somerville. That's not like other cities.
Exactly.
Well, now we've already hopped over to Somerville, so let's stay in Somerville. I know that there was a property that you wanted to highlight for us today, on Kingston Street in Somerville. So I'll let you take it.
Yeah. We kind of wanted to finish up this by highlighting one of the properties that we have for sale right now. The one that I think is one of the best deals on the market is 37 Kingston Street Unit A. It's a 3-bed, 3-bath unit, brand new, about a little over 1,800 square feet. Really cool layout. But the really cool aspect, not only the finishes, is the fact that it's like within like a stone throw of Davis Square. It's super close, super convenient. For people that want to commute to Cambridge or to Boston, it's super, super convenient. And again, really cool design. It's
Brand new.
currently available, and we'd love to show it to you. So,
And it's on a super quiet street. It's like right next to Davis, but the street itself is very peaceful.
exactly. And also right on the border of Cambridge, so you also have that access to a lot of cool parts of Cambridge.
And not far from Mass Ave. No, it's great. Well, thank you, Hudson, for chatting today and informing us all about these zoning changes and all of that. And thank you to everyone who listened through with us to this point. We will catch you guys next time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good one.